everybody, I'm here with Erica Fox from Concierge Auction. We recently have a CIR listing, actually. Denise Staples, a listing agent who's going to be using Concierge Auction. So I wanted to take a minute to just chat with Erica about what Concierge Auction actually is and how properties can get involved. And so welcome, Erica. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So talk a little bit about your company, history, how you guys work with realtors.
Fantastic. So Concierge Auctions is a luxury auction house. We are not a brokerage. We're here to work hand in hand with brokerages and agents, not just in Canada, but across North America, Europe, and in Asia as well. So what we focus on typically is residential, non-distressed properties. Okay. So we don't typically take on things like foreclosures. And we do work primarily in that luxury, high-end market north of $1 million.
Okay, and north of 1 million, is that US dollar? Is that your conversion rate?
We usually do work in US dollars. So in Canada, we will look at $1 million properties Canadian as well.
Okay.
Right? And we typically work with listing agents. When a seller comes to us, we are usually working with a seller that, for one reason or another, is maybe frustrated. Now, they're typically frustrated not with the agent or with the property, but with the market itself. Mm-hmm. You know, especially in Calgary, we're finding that timing can be a very tricky thing. Mm-hmm. Properties about the 2 to 4 million range have gone from over 600 sold in 2017 to just over 500 sold in 2018. And the forecast for 2019 looks like they're going to see a bit of a dip. Looking at properties over 4 million, 2 sold in 2017 and only 1 sold in 2018. So we're seeing sellers coming to us who are looking for our value proposition, which is liquidity, predictability, and control. In the process that we offer, we bring a project sales manager to the ground, just like myself, and through that on-the-ground operation effort, we expose the property over a 30-day marketing period, online and in person. And from there, our value proposition is that we are able to secure 3 to 5 bidders that leads to a 30-day close. In a market where a property could sit on the market for well over 90 days, sometimes even 270 days.
Yes.
That kind of control and liquidity and, again, predictability can be a very tempting proposition. Mm-hmm. So what I like to be to CIR realtors is another tool, right? Another tool in the listing agent toolbox. Mm-hmm. Something that in the listing presentation you were able to propose as one of many avenues for marketing and selling the property.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So for a realtor to get involved, financially, what are the costs?
That's a really good question. And I think a lot of realtors will be very surprised by this. From the seller's perspective, we do not have an engagement fee. All right. That is why we thoroughly vet every single property. Mm-hmm. We do want to make sure that there are no liens on the property, that the debt is something that could be covered in an auction process, or that the seller themselves would be able to cover the debt, because, you know, depending on the range of outcomes offered by the auction process. And for these reasons, we do not provide an engagement fee scope. There is no engagement fee. There is some cancellation fees in certain particular instances because of the different formats of auctions that we offer. Okay. But we find that if a home goes to auction and is successful, the seller doesn't pay us a fee at all. And I think that's a very important point, because sometimes there is a misconception that auctions can cost sellers quite a bit of money, and they actually, in our platform, do not.
Wow.
For the listing agent, as well as the buying agent, we are using the traditional Alberta process. We are using an Alberta purchase and sale agreement, for example. It's the actual bidding process, or the offer of purchase price, that is what we are facilitating in our platform, And so we still offer listing agents and buying agents, in consultation with the listing agent and seller, the correct commissions on the property as well.
Right. Fascinating. That is, you're right. I would have assumed absolutely that the seller would have had to pay something for that service. That's incredible.
And the seller maintains a higher level of control as well, because as I mentioned, we do reserve and non-reserve auctions as well. So depending on the property and the market, a seller may come to us and through consultation with us and their listing agent, decide this is where I feel comfortable setting a reserve. And of course we want that to be a very approachable reserve.
Right.
Or they may decide, let's go with the non-reserve format because it does garner a lot more interest.
Right. So when it's up to the seller which route they want to take.
It is, and that's part of that control aspect of liquidity, predictability, and control. They're looking at the terms, and they're also looking at the timing of the auction as well. And that could be dependent upon a number of factors, personally as well as business-wise, because for a number of sellers, this is also a business transaction as much as it is a personal decision.
So is there a minimum that the seller is allowed to set for auction, like my property will not go for less than?
And that's where the reserve format comes in and tends to be a great option for those types of sellers. But again, we will consult with both the seller and the listing agent to determine what the best and most approachable reserve for that property would be. Because we do want to garner a lot of interest. I mean,
of course. The point is for this to sell.
The point of it is to create a sense of urgency in the marketplace.
Right.
That's what we want to do.
I like that.
We want to bring as many buyers to the table who understand that they are committing to compete for this property, and there is a countdown happening, a clock. And after this clock runs out, there will be no other opportunity to gain this gem in your portfolio or to have this new home for your family to grow up in. And so that sense of urgency tends to bring about competition in which we are able to get to the true market value for the home.
That's fascinating. That's
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah.
We had, I'm going to ask you some basic questions, and you're always going to ask me some basic questions because we had something on our agent Facebook page a little while back, and there was just some confusion. So I just want you to be able to very specifically say, are there any properties through auction that do not sell?
That can happen, yes. So,
and what situations would that happen in?
yes. So we have a sell-through rate right now of about 79%. So 79% of our homes that go to auction are successful.
That's very high.
Yes, it is. Generally, it is very high, but we would like to, of course, have it to be higher, and so we are looking at the factors that might affect that sale. And some of those factors are, sometimes we do have sellers who, when it comes down to the red line, they're not truly prepared to let go of their property, again, through that range of expectations, because we can't guarantee a specific price at auction. So we do have sellers who might cancel the auction before it actually begins, and that is possible. It happens rarely, but it is still possible. And then there are some auctions that might not hit the reserve because maybe the reserve was a little too high for that particular market, or maybe it wasn't compelling enough for enough competition to get into the auction. And we do look at that so that we can adjust how we set reserves moving forward. In the most rare of cases, an auction just does not complete itself, right? And for whatever reason, you know, we might not be able to bring enough bidders to the table. But we've seen that, and I believe it's less than 1% of auctions, and that percentage is continuing to go down as we refine our process. We've been doing this for over 10 years, and we are driven by data. Our tech team is one of the largest departments in our company, and it's because we don't do anything intuitively. We do everything driven by how well it performed in the past and how we can improve it for the future accomplishments,
As far as a seller potentially pulling out, is that what that cancellation fee is there for? Because I know that just from knowing you, that when you or somebody on your team is the dedicated sales agent for that property, it is full on. It is a nonstop 60-hour-a-week job that you are putting on with this listing agent in that property, and it is go, go, go. So is the cancellation fee there to make sure that an agent isn't just having this conversation with a client to say, well, let's drum up as much publicity as we can without the intention of going through with it, and then we'll just kind of pull out at the last minute?
That is part of it, yes. So the cancellation fee is exactly there. So for any property that is 2.5 million US or Canadian and above as a listing, there is a cancellation fee attached to it, and that varies based on the property, the type of property that we're working on.
Right.
And so if we do that 30-day exposure period and we do get to that last day before the auction begins, and I want to stress that it's before the auction begins, and the seller chooses to not go forward, Concierge does reserve the right to have that cancellation fee applied forward. And it does, yes, mitigate any risk about being used as simply a marketing tool and not as an auction platform.
Right.
And it also is used to gauge the seriousness of a seller. You know, we do want sellers who are committed to this process, and a cancellation fee does bring that added seriousness to the table. And so that mitigates the risk also for our buyers who have put in a lot of time into vetting the property, who have put in time into getting their proof of funds together and bringing $100,000 as a bidder deposit. While the seller is our client, we do want to treat our buyers fairly and make sure that they're participating in auctions with sellers who are committed to the process.
So you just switched to buyers, which is great. So one question on buyers, just really explicitly explain what a realtor would have to do to bring a buyer to the table.
Sure. Now, a realtor will always have all of their traditional fiduciary responsibilities because we are using the Alberta Purchase and Sale Agreement, and the actual closing is a traditional closing.
Okay.
However, when you're interested in a property and you think this might be fantastic for a few clients in your network, the first thing I would do is send out the listing to the clients. If they are coming by, you can bring them to the open house, or you can let the project sales manager know that you're sending your clients through so that that person can register you as their agent. Once your clients have decided, yes, I would like to move forward, through the registration process, there is a section where we confirm that they have a buying agent. Any buyer who says, I'm not going to be working with an agent in this process, has to be very, very explicit about that, because we do not want to cut agents out of the process. And personally, as a project sales manager, and as well as company-wide, we always want our buyers to feel that there's somebody there working specifically on their behalf.
Of course.
Again, our client is the seller. So we want them to feel protected, and we want them to be guided by a real estate expert from that market.
Right.
So they do register their agent, provide their proof of funds, provide their $100,000 deposit. And at that point, the buying agent will come back in and begin to talk about value of the property.
Okay.
Where does that buyer see value? Where do they want their top bid to sit? How do they want to go through the bidding process, and in what increments would they like to bid up? This is where you're starting to talk a little bit about the psychology of the auction process, how far we want to go from a financial perspective. That's where the buying agent and the buyer can have those types of conversations.
And are you available for the buyer's agent to have those conversations with? So a little bit of direction on how should I tell my buyer to proceed?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm here for. I'm here to support the buying agent as well as their client throughout that entire process, from registration. And if they would like to talk about where they would like to go in the bid, I am here to do that as well. And of course, everything we speak about is kept in utter confidence.
Right.
Yes. As we go into the auction process, and the buyer at the end of the auction is provided with a telephone bidding assistant on a confidential line with someone who is in the room with the auctioneer for that last half hour of the auction. We also recommend that the buying agent is on the line as well, helping them work through what they think the next bid should be. It is a time-sensitive situation.
Yes.
Emotions can run high in those last 30, 20 minutes.
Wow.
And it's nice to have a rock, a stable
Yes.
person
Yes.
who has a step back from the situation and remembers all of those conversations about where you said you would go.
Yep. Yep.
Right? And have somebody there to sort of coach through that extra 20 minutes, in addition to the bidding assistant who's on the line as well. And then from there, we go to closing, and of course, the buying agent has their traditional responsibilities.
Home inspections, after you've already, if somebody's very serious about this, are they getting a home inspection done first, or like after they've purchased this property? I'm assuming the purchase isn't subject to a home inspection, then the home inspector's coming in afterwards, and then the person's saying, well, I don't like this, and then it's crashing. So does all of that have to be done on the front end of it?
Yes.
Okay.
So you make a really good point. The sale is as is non-conditional.
Okay.
So when you see the purchase and sale agreement go up, usually about a week before the auction happens, you'll see all conditions redacted from the purchase and sale agreement. So that month during the exposure period gives everyone their chance to bring in loved ones, assessment supervisors from the bank, or maybe an inspector. But with that said, we always put an inspection report on the website during the auction period that can be viewed anytime.
Perfect. So you guys have your own home inspection done, completed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, Erica, thank you so much for explaining how all of that works. If anybody wants to check out the website or get some more information, do you want to just let them know where to go to kind of?
Yes. So you can go to conciergeauctions.com.
And this should be up on your screen right now, you guys.
Exactly. And then to see some of the properties that we're currently showcasing, just click Current Properties under the Buy tab, and you'll be able to see all of the properties around the world that we're currently auctioning or will be going to auction.
Can we just click on this castle?
Yes.
Just while we're here.
There you are. And right
Wow.
beside that was Phuket, Thailand, actually. So this is a castle we're doing in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas.
I didn't realize Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas had castles.
Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas has some mega millionaire mansions, let me tell you. And it's one of our growing markets, to be honest with you. So underneath every property page, you'll also see the terms and conditions, open house times, as well as a little bit of information. And I just want to be able to show our viewers where they'll be able to find some of those inspection reports, title commitments, purchase and sale agreements. So here at the very bottom, you'll see due diligence documents right here, and bidder registration forms, as well as the miscellaneous documents. Inspection report is here, as well as other documents that pertain to the property themselves. And if you don't mind, while we're here, I would just like to show, let's see if we can get this. Oh, it's going to ask me for a login. I apologize. But you can see any auction that is happening right now live. So you click on a property page, and the auction will immediately pop up. Now our bidders are anonymous, of course.
But you're still watching.
Yes.
You're still watching
but you
things
can
happen.
see the history of bids. And I think any agent that's interested in bringing a buyer to the table would be interested in seeing how that goes down for the last half hour of the auction, because auctions are like a bag of popcorn. You'll hear 1 or 2 pops at first, and then it'll begin to speed up over the course of those 3 days, and then at the very end it's just pop, 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 bid, 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 and then it'll start to slow down, and that's when you'll start to see the auction kind of settling.
Oh, it's exciting.
It's a very exciting time. I definitely have 1 gray hair for every auction that I have closed. But you know, I'm really happy to be working with really great sellers and some fantastic agents who, even when it's their first auction, are excited to learn about the process. And I always welcome as many questions as possible, because I am here to educate as much as I am here to facilitate.
Thank you very, very much, Erica. Well, there you go, guys. Now you have a little bit of information about how Concierge Auction works. If you have a property that you think would be a great fit, our contact for you is absolutely Erica. Please let us know if you need her contact information, or go on the Concierge Auction website. But I love how you said another tool in your listing toolbox.
Yes.
That's fabulous, and I think that when it comes to luxury properties, and you're right, especially in our market right now, many people could use many, many tools in their toolbox.
I agree.
So good analogy.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much.